Well folks, welcome back to the workshop. Another day, another bunch of broken tools in for repair. Let's see what we can get through today and get up and running again. We'll start off with a Bosch jigsaw. This is the GST 18V/LIB. This is the Bosch cordless jigsaw, but has a DC motor in it instead of a brushless one, so it's the older version. Yeah, she's actually a 2017 machine. She's got a wee bit of work done. It's 6 or 7 years old. What's wrong with it? She looks alright. And she's running. Now there's the problem. Actual tool holder's damaged. So she is locked in the open position. The blade will go in, but it's not staying in. So that spring has gone the other way. See, should be springing back to that position, to the lock. So that's broken and needs to be replaced. Not a difficult job, quite easy to do. And we only need one part. Now, one part might be all we need, but she's not a cheap part. There's your part number there if you're ever needing it. And there's one complete kit. Comes with the actual bush, your seal, and the lock on the bottom. So as you can see, when you actually fit a blade into this, it's meant to snap back. So that's not happening. She's not locking the blade on this one. So this is the part you need. But like I say, that there part costs around €45. Not cheap. Considering just the other day I did a video on the meal tools and the cordless jigsaw on that, to buy the whole thing wouldn't be much more than just the price of this. So when you look at it in that respect, it's quite expensive for that part. Anyway, to actually change it isn't difficult. Get in first, get the old one pulled out. And that's her on the insides. Same sort of controller and switch setup as most Bosch cordless tools. Control here, switch, all one piece. Retainer you can sometimes buy on its own. Just a DC motor in this one. And your actual gearbox assembly up here. So to change this, first pull out your gearbox. It just pulls away from your motor. It's on a wee spline shaft. Now, as you can see, there's bottom bushing which is attached to the plunger itself. She's just sitting here loose. Can only lift up so far. This top bush is actually held in by this pin, which is pressed in, so it's a tight fit. Don't go thinking you have to press this out to remove this tool holder. You can leave that in place. Just wind your motor with your actual roller all the way down. Put it down, give it a wee wiggle. This top bush up here can actually rotate on that pin. So you can just lift it up and take it out. And the only thing you need to make sure of when you're refitting the new one is which way it's sitting. So you can fit this either way. Only one way is right. So that is rotating this way on the spring. So when you put your butt in, she's going to spring back that way. So if I fit it that way, I'll not be able to access this here lever here. Plus you'll probably catch on the body of the machine. So it has to fit this way. So this little arm needs to be pointing up. And if you put your butt in, it'll come back here. So you can rotate it round again. So to fit it, slide it onto this top bush. Line it up with your roller. And that's it. And the bottom one, just make sure the square section is facing up the way. And that's it. One lifting rod fitted to the gearbox of a Bosch jigsaw. Nice and easy. Put it in. Awkward bit is putting this whole assembly back in again. Because these two little washers and nylon washer are actually the oil seal. They have to sit in down here. It can sometimes be tricky just to get them lined up. Put them together first. Slide this onto your motor section again. Start to lower it into position. And just make sure these slide in behind the body up here. That's it. That's it in place. Lastly, most important bit, a little leaf spring. That pushes on there and gives your lifting rod a bit of resistance to keep the blade pushed back onto the blade guide here. And finally, if you want, put a little dollop of grease just on the lifting rod, and then bush. And bushes there are steel bearings. Only a little, mind you. Don't put in a lot. This is only meant to coat this gear section here, not the whole thing. Get a little bit on the gears and on the bushes up here. That's it. Put too much in, you're going to make a mess. This little seal down here isn't a seal, it is only a nylon washer with two steel washers above and below. That's it. It's not going to keep any grease on. Keeps the dust out to an extent, but won't keep the grease on. So there's too much on there, it'll start weeping out down here, plus making a mess of this whole motor section up here. Just put on a bit, and that's it. Just throw that on as well. And close her up. That's it. Nice one. That's how you change the lifting rod or tool holder on a Bosch cordless jigsaw. The lifting rod itself might cost 45, but the tool itself costs 200. So it might be a dear part, but it's still worth doing for a €200 machine. Everything else in it's still perfect. It's only this end. So that's her, fixed up again, ready for work. Now, next up we have something different. A Skilsaw, an actual Skilsaw from Skill. This is the SHD77M. These aren't available over here. Regulations are actually different over here. You're not allowed a full metal body machine like this here. So these can't actually be bought over here in Europe. These can only be got in the States. So anytime you actually see them here, they're what somebody's actually went over to the States to get or brought back along with them. These here are fantastic machines. Brilliant piece of kit. A proper workhorse if there ever was one. These things are just made for work. Good big heavy motor, nice metal body frame, big worm drive feed then for the saw blade, metal guard, big heavy plastic handle. These things are just made for work. Sadly though, can't get parts for them over here. Now this one's been modified before. She has a yellow Arctic cable on it. So generally when these come in, it's either a simple quick fix or nothing at all. And I would say this one's not going to be fixed anyway. That switch is gone. Yep. No click. Right, I'll have to just see what we can do here. I used to have switches for these, but they are now all gone. So I've none left, and I can't get any more. Parts are only available in the States, and boys in the States are actually telling me, even over there, they're nearly impossible to get parts for, or at least in some areas. This one, switch is doing nout. Should be a good heavy click as that switch engages. And also, there's a wee bit of a bodge wiring job on there. Nothing. Nothing. So that's gone. The question is, do I have anything similar that'll work? It's not to say it's the highest quality switch ever. It's fairly basic. Right, see if I have anything that matches that. Right, I might have something here. This is a 2412, so at 120 volts she's rated at 24 amps, and at 240 volt she's rated at 12. This is an evolution switch. This is actually off a metal cutoff saw, number 085/0042. It's for a 240 volt machine, but she is rated, well, 22 amps at 125, 10 amps at 240, so this is rated for both. That should do the trick. Holes match, body's actually shorter, so it should still go on. The only thing you have to do is make sure the trigger actually works, as in clears this here body. Now this one, wee bit different, has this brass pin sticking out the side of it. Just pull it off, you don't need it. It's just a click switch. You can hear the click has gone out of this one. Should be making that sound. She's not able to lock on. It's just on and off. That should work fine. And this wiring I don't like. And also she's a couple of wee nicks in her. The live cable showing. Because of that, and because of this, we'll actually just rewire this as well. Just to be on the safe side, to leave it looking a lot better. Now we'll get back to the lead in a minute. For now we'll just deal with the switch. Now, with changing these types of switches, screws can actually be different. So do watch. Don't go swapping the screws around, putting the old screw in the new switch. If they are different, you'll strip out the wee brass insert, which is actually connected to the contacts inside as part of the contact. You strip it out, you'll not be able to get the thing tightened up right, and you'll mess up the switch. And at 40 quid for a switch, you don't want to be messing it up. Sometimes you get these here in the workshop especially, might have a couple of old ones lying around, or new ones, we don't know what they're out of, just bought for stock but never marked. And some of the screws might be missing. So you sometimes do get a switch with no screws. Only fit the ones from the old switch if they are the same thread. Don't chance forcing them in. Heavy cable in these things as well. Generally they're a 1.5 cable, but obviously need to be 3-core because of the metal body of this thing. Just make sure all your cable gets all wrapped in where it's meant to go. You go up this way. The motor cable comes around here. The lead cable comes up over here, so make sure it gets around. That's your hole for the handle. It slots down onto there. A single screw holds it down. And that should be it. The amount of these I've actually turned away the last few years because I don't have a switch for them. Just so happen to have an evolution switch because I done an evolution saw not so long ago. I got a spare switch in for it. It's just a handy thing to do at times. You get a machine in for repair and it has a different switch or an oddball switch. Sometimes it does pay you to take in 2 instead of 1. You might never use it for that particular brand or machine ever again. But sometimes you'll get on an oddball machine that you cannot get parts for, or a machine like this where we aren't allowed to get the parts for it. and it'll be the same part you can actually use. It's always good to have a few extras lying about. Have to remember to order a few more of them Evolution ones for this exact reason. Because surprisingly enough, you would see these saws on quite often. Normally it's just a lead, but after a lead it is the switch that you would need to replace. It would be handy to get a couple more of them on. Now, that should be her. Does she run? Not a bother. One Skilsaw up and running again with an Evolution part. So if you have one of these American Skilsaws, the switch is gone, look online and get an Evolution switch for a cut-off saw. 085/0042. It's a little bit different, but it'll do the exact same job. Anyway, that's her. Next up we have an Omar gun. OMER. These are actually a high quality wee air gun. This is the PR.28. This will be a 23 gauge headless punner. Customer says it's no longer sinking the nails. Since she's firing, nails are coming out, but they're sticking proud out of the timber, not getting flush. Generally, that's a worn out pin. The customer knows that because he says himself he thinks the pin's broken. These are only wee tiny light nails. That's actually them there. Tiny little skinny nails, 23 gauge. And there's no head on them. There's just a sharp point. Now they do have a flat edge for the pin to actually hit against and a sharp edge for actually cutting into the timber. So they have an arrow to tell you which way they're meant to be firing. But they are tiny. The pin itself is very big, but the tip goes down into a very small point. So eventually, trying to drive these tiny little heads of nails wears away the tip of the pin. So it starts getting smaller and smaller till the nails eventually start sticking proud of the timber. And you can't adjust the depth on them, so when they start doing that, you have to replace the pin. They're actually quite a high quality gun, not cheap to buy, but they are really nicely made. Small tiny gun, shouldn't a wee tiny nail, but they're all heavy duty. Nice thick aluminium frame in it, good aluminium magazine. There's nothing light about them. Only light thing is the pin, but that has to be to drive these tiny little nails. And she actually hasn't worn out. Has actually broken. It is literally. So the customer is right. It is actually a broken pin. She must be old enough. Yeah, 2015. Nearly 10 years. Because that O-ring's gone as well. It's all pinched underneath though. It's actually broken. So that needs a new pin. The question is, have I got one? I have to go into the bucket of oddballs. That's for a spit. That's for an S&K riffing gun. Too big. Omar. Nope. Wrong ones. Too small. That looks better. Pan, seal, no ring. Yeah, it's actually 2 O-rings. Which makes sense because there's 4 in the bag and 2 pans. Two O-rings underneath to pack out the seal. And then this resin seal or split seal over the top of them. Just make sure they locate correctly. That seal should be able to close up. Close the gap like that without them O-rings squeezing out. And it's just a case of a little bit of oil in the chamber and reinstall your pan. Just make sure the tip has gone in correctly. Slide that on. That's her. Very simple to fit. The parts aren't all that expensive. That's her. One Omar with a new frying pan. Have to adjust the depth for the nails. Wee slider on the side here. Adjust that so the nails go into the right depth. That's her. We'll get a fresh piece of timber without the nails. That's why it's called a headless panner. Barely leaves a mark. They're fantastic quality guns, but they're terrible for the likes of a workshop where you have a bunch of messers. There's no safety on the front. Safety's on the trigger. So once this is back, she shoots. Good for speed, terrible for boys who like to go around shooting their colleagues. But I'm sure everybody that uses them are good and responsible. Anyway, that's her. One Omar gun, PR28 with a new firing pan. Right, regular Milwaukee. Is that the regular problem? Oh. Yep. That one sounds very bad though. Wonder if that's actually destroyed the housing. What is a good grinder to buy? Cordless. The Makita. The field comes loose and rubs. The Milwaukee. The bearing fails and rubs. Both of them. You need to keep an eye on them. But both of them can be fixed. Now, that one's completely gone. The field looks okay, but grubby, mind you. But we can quickly clean that out. Have to clean it out anyway because only steel balls are going to be inside of here. These wee boys, they're going to be floating around inside now, which you don't want left inside whenever you switch this on again, plus the bits of the cage. So I'll just give it a good clean out. It's actually stuck to the field too, so we'll just actually wash that out. Normally you just blow it out with a compressor, but I don't know what this is, but it's quite very dusty. The balls are starting to stick to it, so we'll just give it a full wash out just in case. Now, all cleaned out, ready to go. This wee ground wire just sits up here. Sits onto the screw head. Just tucks into the body. That's just to take away static electricity build up. As the air is running past this here, it builds up any static. Just to get rid of that, because actual static can blow these here controllers. Might be very much current, but they can have high voltage build up on it. Drop that back in. Your switch lever. Drop that on. Body in this looks okay as well. The bearing hasn't actually melted the plastic, so we should get away with this. Right, that's that half. Now to deal with the actual bearing. To get off this inner wrist now, you can either grind down here to break the hold on the shaft and actually just pull this off. Sometimes you can just pull them off with pliers though. Just depends on how tight they actually are. Looks like we're grinding. If you can't pull it off, grind it off. All you want to do is just grind down one edge just a little bit till you get to the shaft. You can actually see the shaft underneath that inner race. So it should now just pull off. There we go. And that's all you've done to the shaft. Just kissed it basically. Now I can press on a new bearing and get this up and running. Same as all these Milwaukee grinders, bearing size you need, the 605. Now you can go for a rubber or a metal shield. The metal shield is better for a grinder because it's running faster, but the rubber seal is better for keeping the dust and dirt out. And seeing as how bad the inside of this was, how dirty it was, I'd say it would be better off with a rubber seal in this one. Doesn't take much force to put them on. So you'll get away with just pressing this on the bearing press, or if you're at home, if you wanted to, if you've nothing else, a few little light taps of a hammer will put this on, as long as you only hit the inner race. And I'm just going to use the press. And that's her. And as well, if the housing is damaged, if you're in any way unsure, don't press the bearing on the full way. If you leave it back a little bit, so it's sticking out a wee bit, you'll be actually going onto fresh plastic on the housing with the bearing sitting onto. It'll guarantee it actually centres the bearing correctly. I just leave it off a wee bit because there's actually plenty of meat to go on to. An extra mil or two here gives you a bit of better plastic to hold on to. Now, that should be her sounding a whole lot better. What'll be wrong with that? One Milwaukee 4.5 inch grinder, or maybe actually a 5 inch grinder, up and running again with a single 605 bearing. That's her. Now this is a proper old school golden oldie, heavy duty golden oldie. This is actually a Black & Decker, a 1/2 inch electric drill, heavy duty. This thing is a slow drill. Basically it's an arm breaker. I'd say this thing has taken out plenty of rusts on its day. Look at the size of that yoke. Nothing's made like this anymore now. Wouldn't even be allowed to take this on a site, I would imagine. She's in for repair. But I would say it might be something to do with that switch. Even the switch is metal. These types of drills, these all metal construction ones, these really old ones, no matter how many ones you actually repair, you're always nervous whenever you switch these things on. Because if this thing shorted out to the handle, you're going to be shocked and stuck holding on to it. This, not sure what's wrong with it, to be honest. It's 240 volt anyway. Right, she's trapped. See the way I didn't actually hold the handle? It's a lot safer that way. So she's running. Or she's trying to run. There's something going on up here, and she's actually tripping my breaker. Right. We'll start up here first because there's a bit of a noise and a spark from the actual back end over here, so maybe there's something going on with the brush holder. Also check the lead too. There's just a white cable going into here. Grommet's completely perished. That rubber's gone. So we'll just check the handle as well, make sure nothing's shorting out inside of this. And also see what you can do with this here switch. It's not much good like that. And also might have to give this a bit of a clean, which is starting to leak a wee bit of grease around here. These things here were just a beast of a machine. They're a slow drill, so they don't run very fast here, but they have absolutely loads of torque. These things, because of two big handles, you can tell they can produce a lot of torque. If you're not holding on, these things are just going to throw you right out the window. Now, obviously, there's not going to be many parts available for this thing. But we might be able to get away with a set of brushes if that's all that's wrong with it. Handle's cracked here. That's not going to matter too much. Paper covers for the brushes themselves. Pull out that brush ring and see what that's like. Doesn't seem to be much in the way of brushes left anyway. Yeah, they're gone for a start. Armature doesn't look too bad. She's well made anyway. Look at all the windings on her. The actual cord wrap. She was designed to last. I'll also just check out the handle here. This is one solid block of aluminium. The switch pushed down into the top. Before we go any further, first want to see why she's actually tripping out. There we go there. So this lead here going to the motor is actually touching the body. More than likely the wire's actually been rubbing or something inside of here. It's just shorting out against the side. And if you switch this on, the body is actually going live. That live then has been tripped out to the earth, which which interrupts the RCD. Right, the switch is actually working now. See if we can get this wee screw out. See if we can change the lead, dismantle this a bit more. Now we can get to it. That out. Then we can take the switch out. Wires are frayed there too. The switch is actually still good. This is just paper insulation then, wraps around the switch, stops it from touching the metal body on here. Take a chance opening this, check the field. And if there's no obvious bad wiring, because there's just a couple of wee stray wires up here. See up here? These are actually hanging out. I think they were touching the body. Might not be too bad a short on this. There's no actual damage. There's no actual damage to the wiring or the stator. I think we'll go ahead and clean this up. Cover the wirings with a wee bit of heat shrink. Put a new set of brushes on, or modify a set, and see if she runs at that. What are the grease inside this thing's like? Yeah, there's not much to go by anyway. Don't know if we'll bother opening that or not. Give it a clean anyway for a start. Even the bearings in this, really old imperial bearings. A hard time even getting them. They won't be a stock item. Now, that's a well-made armature. She actually hasn't got an awful lot of work done. There's something rubbing there, look. This oil could also be having something to do with the way it's shorting out. These aren't going to be as well wrapped as a modern machine. They're not going to be lacquered. So maybe the oil is actually causing a short to the body. I'll not have these brushes, I wouldn't imagine, so anyway, I'll check. It could be just a case of modifying another set. This here tag has to go to this side. So we'll just give that a wee mark. I'll say that's live. And we'll see live down here. This doesn't have a forward and reverse switch. This is only going one direction. Turn one way only. So if I wire this on differently, so if I reverse these leads or reverse these two, it'll actually cause the motor to run the opposite direction. So it'll be running reverse instead of running forward. Marking them will just save making the mistake whenever we reassemble. Plenty of oil build up on it anyway. So clean that all down. Windings actually look leads look okay. So the field itself should be alright. Clean that down. We'll clean out this body. So that thing seems some amount of work. I'll give this head a bit of a clean. Don't know if we'll open up the whole gearbox. There's not much need. This didn't open up, not opening up the inside of us because there will be a paper gasket here. I don't want to break the seal basically. Plus there's just no reason to actually open it. Still intact, it's not leaking. There's nothing wrong inside, so leave it as is. I'm not going to do much more to this just yet, because for some reason I'm getting the feeling this ain't going to be worth fixing. Don't know what it is about it. Sometimes you just get the feeling that you're wasting your time. And that's what I'm starting to feel like now. That there is the only real wire you should be most concerned about. The earth lead. Make sure that is on and attached to the handle. Now, moment of truth. Was this a total waste of time? It was. Still tripping. So it's not the field, it's not the switch. It's actually the armature. Yeah. Still tripping. Right. In other words, that is a no-go. Total waste of time. This old Black & Decker was just for the skip. There's not a hope of being able to get an armature for that there. The brushes I've just put on were filed down stumps just to test it out. Don't have them brushes either. Switch is still good. Problem's not the lead. Field is all good, tested and washed out. The problem is the actual armature. She must be shorting out and causing the problem. So that thing just ain't worth fixing or can't be fixed. No parts available. This was just a complete and utter waste of time. At least if he needs it. He's still got a good chuck, mind you. Good Jacob's chuckets on it. But everything else, not much use. That's that one not fixed. Next up is half a hoover. A 50 litre dust extractor. It's a very cheap one. This might be at a Lidl or something like that there. Looks like the metal tin type. Or Lumberjack actually. Lumberjack tools. It's not old. September 2023. Customer says this ain't working. I don't need the rest of the hoover. It's only the top that has the actual motor on it. So there's only a bit that actually counts. It'd either be a lead or a switch. I don't know what kind of switch that is. Normally they have a wee light on it. Now you switch it on, you get a light. So if the light's not coming on, it could be either or. If it's not that type of switch, it could also be a motor as well. But imagine this will be a simple thing. The question is, how do I get into it? Right, screws underneath. They came out first. Yeah, very simple. Right, this thing's done next to nothing, I would say. Not much on it. A motor, Don't even know if that's a controller or not, what that is. Lead coming in, and yeah, we've 2-position switch, and that's it. Very basic. Then should be reliable too. Now what I also should have checked was the fuse. Fuse is okay. Neutral's okay. And live is okay. Put it onto the on position. That works. That side doesn't. Oh, there's a wee clip on it, there's not. It's just tight. I'm touching the two, that's what I was actually doing there. Right, it didn't work in there, but it is working now. I'll change that anyway, see if it makes a difference. Now, let's see if that does anything. Now we've got a light. This is actually the switch. The light that gives it away. Showing power going through. See, now it's not again. See, that side there is just messed up. Sometimes shows power, but the light's never coming on. So it's a good indication the switch is gone. I just need to line up these holes again. Get her back together. Get them on first before you tighten them up, so that they all line up correctly. Only 3 wee screws. That's it. That should keep this man running. 1200 watt dust extractor. That's her. Nice sweet cheap fix. What, a 10 or 15 euro switch on what, maybe a 50 or 60 euro vacuum. That'll do. Next up is a wee cheap and cheerful saw. A Galax Pro, not even a Galaxy Pro. Galax Pro. I think this thing's off of Amazon. Well, it's clearly had a hard enough life. Blade's burnt stupid. Still has teeth on it, mind you. Although I don't think they're all there. Let's see what she's doing. With power anyway. But she ain't running. Imagine these two screws are just for this little yellow piece. And the two back ones for the cover, yeah. The armature doesn't look burnt, but that brush holder does. It's just a wee holder. Keep it pinned down. How do I take that out without breaking it? Looks to be melted in there, though. Don't know if I can do anything with this or not. Twaddle and fiddle around with it here for a bit and see if I can get this brush holder out without breaking it. There's got to be no parts available for this thing, and nothing is going to match it. That's in there. Oh, there we go. All come out, I think. Yeah, there's the problem. It's all burnt. Why is it burnt? Can't tell if that armature's gone or not. We'll see if I can free these out. The brush is just disintegrated. Look at that. Have you ever seen a cheaper brush? It's not been compressed hard enough. It's not been made correctly, basically. Just a real cheap and cheerful saw with very cheap components. If the brushes are that cheap, the rest of the parts will be even cheaper. This is probably not even worth fixing. We'll give it a go anyway, just out of curiosity. Right, these are the wrong brushes, but they will do to test this out. Don't want to take anything closer to it because I'd have to modify them to get them to fit. And it's burnt out. I'm going to be wasting a set of brushes, so they're close enough. They actually go on as well, so better than nothing. I'll just do the other one as well. this one the same? Not as bad. But still starting to crack away. That's the thing with leaving them cheap and cheerful tools on for repair. The brushes could end up costing more than this machine. These are a Makita set of brushes. That'll get it running. Question is, what'll it run like? Well, she runs, that's the main thing. A little bit sparky, but new set of brushes, cheap and cheerful saw. I don't think this is going to run all that smooth anyway. The price of a set of brushes will be worth it at that. A Galax Pro circular saw with a set of Makita brushes on it.